Hey folks, David here, and what you just heard was a demonstration of our song-specific main stage patch for the song Wonder by Hillsong United. This patch doesn't require any third-party plugins or audio effects. Only MainStage's built-in plugins and effects are needed to use this patch. We designed this patch in the original key and at the original tempo of the song, but you can change both the key or the tempo to suit the way that your team plays it. This patch has also been pre-mapped to our Sunday Keys MainStage template. So if you have the Sunday Keys template, you can just drag and drop this patch file right into your concert, and it will be pre-mapped to the extra slot, so it's even easier to use. Now what I'd like to do is go through the song section by section and teach you how to play the song using this patch. Let's take a look. Alright, this song is in the key of B, and I've just dragged the patch file straight into Sunday Keys, and you can see it's pre-mapped to the extra section right here, so you have volume control and a level indicator. Makes it really easy. And so this song just has a few basic layers that you need to get comfortable with, and you're going to utilize your mod wheel a lot to blend those layers in and out on the fly. If you don't have a mod wheel on your keyboard, then check out the blog post on our website about how to use a knob or a fader as your mod wheel instead, because you can definitely still get this functionality even if your keyboard doesn't have a dedicated mod wheel. So check out our blog if you need information on how to do that. So there's a few basic layers here. The left hand is going to span these two octaves right here, from this low B to B right below middle C. And when you hit this first low B here, it's just going to give you a synth pad and a couple arps that are also doubled an octave up, but when you go up an octave, it adds in a piano bass as well. So to start the song, the very beginning of the intro, you just want to hit this low B because it's just going to bring that synth in. And so on the album, those ARP layers sort of fade in a few seconds after the original pad. So if you wanted to, you could map a knob or fader on your controller, whatever that may be, to the volume of those layers, and you could definitely fade them up as you get into that intro. Or if you don't need it to be precisely like the album, then you can just let them all start, and that's fine. When you get into the verse, you just want to play that same bass note, and then when it changes course to E, you're just going to jump up to E, and that's the first time you're going to introduce the piano bass. In the right hand, you just have a delayed piano right above middle C. So the verse, 2, 3, 4. So your right hand's just playing that little motif that occurs throughout the song: F sharp, G sharp, D sharp, C sharp. And that just delayed piano just carries through the whole first verse. You notice when you go up to that E, you want to go ahead and play an octave. And that's going to give you an octave lower here, even though it would actually be down here. It's chord triggered up. It's just to make it more playable. And then as you hold that E, during the second couple bars of the verse, if you bring your mod wheel up, then a synth bass and a synth arp will start to fade in. That will really get you closer dynamically to the chorus, which is nice. So when you hit that E with your mod wheel still all the way down, you can hear that fade in. That gets you really close to where you're going to be dynamically in the chorus, which is really nice. When you do the chorus, you want to jump an octave up in your left hand and play octaves. So that's going to give you an arp and synth bass here. And then in your right hand, you're going to play that exact same motif as the verse, but you're going to play it in octaves. So when you go up an octave in your right hand, you get that big glide saw lead. You want to hold the notes in your left hand and not rely on your sustain pedal so that you can make the changes in the right hand without all of them bleeding through and sustaining, because you don't want your right hand to get muddy. You want those single notes to stand out. So I recommend not using your sustain, or you can hop it off in between each of these changes if you want. That's kind of what I do. I'll hit a right hand note, sustain it, move into place, and then release sustain immediately after pressing the next. but I'm going to keep holding the bass notes in my left hand and not rely on the sustain pedal to hold those for me. And you want your mod wheel to be all the way up for the chorus if you want to start this song full strength for the chorus with that big lead. So that sounds like this. So that's the chorus. You'll notice how I'm kind of changing notes, letting the sustain hold, and then moving around in my right hand. And there is some time sync stuff on this song. The ARPs are time synced, but they're deep enough in the background where even if your team doesn't play to a click, you could probably still get away with these, and it's just going to add some texture and movement. Some songs you can't get away with using ARPs unless you're on a clock, but this is one where, in my opinion, it all just adds sort of a percussive element that you wouldn't necessarily need it to be perfectly in sync. And of course, if it ends up clashing a little bit too much for your taste, then you can take out the ARPs and then just let the pads and the synth bass and the leads carry the song. So you can just mute those channel strips. For the second verse, it depends on how you want to play the tune. You can bring your mod wheel down about halfway and then just play the exact same thing. Because it's pretty big energy on the original track. Or if you want to make it smaller and kind of let the guitars do some of the work, then you can actually leave off your lower octave in the left hand. And just let that ARP do the work, and you could even add the right hand in there. And then I'll take you back to chorus 2. If you wanted it to be a little bigger, kind of in between, then you would, with your mod wheel about halfway down, play the octave in your right hand, but not in your left. So that's going to keep that glide synth in. And it's going to stand out a little bit, but if you don't have two guitarists, or if you don't have a guitarist playing that lead line, then that might be a good path to go. Notice with my mod wheel just about halfway, that glide synth isn't as loud. So play around with the mod wheel and get comfortable where the volume shifts are so that you can kind of dial it in to sit just right for the way that you want to play it. So then you play the chorus again after verse 2, and then after the chorus there's sort of a second chorus or an alt chorus, depending on the chord chart that you use or the terminology that you're comfortable with. It's the same right hand motif, but you're going to just go down to a G sharp octave in your left hand while the band is playing G sharp minor. And there's just a little bit of an alternate progression. So your mod wheel again is all the way up for all these choruses, and it sounds like this. So just a little bit of an alternate progression in the left hand. Then when it drops down for the instrumental, that's before the bridge, and the bridge is just a pickup sort of the chorus again, but it starts down and it kind of goes double time. So you have a few options available to you depending on how much space you want to fill. So you could just go back to the very beginning, play that intro bass note. For that instrumental, and for the early bridge parts, or you could bring in that right hand delay piano from the first verse. Or, since your mod wheel is all the way down, the high octave actually gives you just a piano part. So you could play it down here, or you could move through here. If if you wanted that piano bass to be throughout. Or if you wanted to strip it down further and not have the synth layers, then you can jump up to the high octave in your left hand and play it like this. If you jump to these 2 octaves, then you'll just have piano. And if you choose to do it here, you can fade your mod wheel in, and that'll bring in synth bass over time. So there's really no wrong way to play the instrumental in the bridge. I would just assess the amount of space that you need to fill and know that you just basically are picking your octave in the left and the right hands, playing the same notes, just picking which layers you want to bring in. And then as you build it up, you can obviously add in octaves in the left or right or both hands to get back to the energy level of that final chorus, which is just like the alt chorus or the chorus 2. Alright, that's it for this song. Thanks for watching, and I hope that you'll make this patch a part of your patch library. Have a great day.